As a researcher, it's easy to get excited about a clinical or theoretical question, but it may be a lot harder to convince potential stakeholders that the answers to that question are worth pursuing. Perspectives, priorities, and values are important concepts for shaping research design. The Cochrane Training website has updated their handbook for systematic reviews of interventions as of this year, 2020. This is an absolutely invaluable resource for both institutional and independent researchers. Let's jump to Section 3 to look at what consideration for perspectives in the review process means. In this example, problems to be solved in health research may pertain to health inequalities between different populations, and that information would be particularly beneficial from the perspective of policy decision makers. The handbook lists a specific formulation for this type of review. 1. Define health equity, inequity among population groups and intersectionality of certain problems. 2. Define hypotheses related to equity using an appropriate analytic framework. Formal frameworks are the key to refining your review question and design. Examples include logic models, causal chains, and funnels of attrition or equity effectiveness. 3. Identify appropriate study designs to include. Fitness, for the purpose of answering the question, may lead the reviewer to include lower-level study designs if there's a good rationale for doing so. 4. Identify appropriate outcomes per the stakeholders and user groups, broadly referred to as the 9 Ps. Various frameworks for defining core outcome sets can be utilized, which encompass measured benefit versus harm, mortality, and other impacts upon individuals in the population of interest, like symptom severity, emotional impact, quality of life, financial burden, etc. The 5 Ds and the WHO ICF are examples of recognized frameworks. 5. Define the context in which the examined research was conducted. The Cochrane Handbook recommends using the CC framework, which comprises 3 dimensions: context, implementation, and setting. These factors interact and impact interventions in question. Priorities in conducting research, let alone systematic reviews, are also important, since resources such as time and funding can be limited. Undertaking a priority-setting exercise should be one of the first steps in formally defining a review question, and it is a collective activity involving a team of stakeholders. The team reviewing potential directions for review should consider how to scope and direct the research question according to 3 broad criteria: public health benefit, feasibility, and cost. Last, but just as important, is how to define the value of conducting a given review. In an article by Don Scott Kemmis available on ResearchGate, there's a wealth of information and explanation on how to define the value of a product or an intervention in economic terms when addressing stakeholders with financial interests. Defining the perspectives, priorities, and values of your concise, PICO-formatted research question is essential to conducting a systematic review with impact.